Hello everybody, and I'm here to talk about my October TBR. Now, for those of you who are not new here, you know that I'm coming off of an extremely discipline heavy September month because I basically had to read 167 pages every single day in order to reach my goals for the month, and I was able to do so. But yeah, I don't know whether the impact of that is going to mean that October is gonna be like a crash and burn, I can't get any pages in type of deal, or whether we're just on a roll now and we can keep on steaming ahead. Ideally, I read about 137 pages a day this month, so it has dropped down, but it is still quite hefty considering, before that I was always aiming like for 100 pages a day, which sometimes is a little bit of a stretch. So yeah, we'll see what happens with the October plans. The October plans are not a must, but they are a want-to, which is also what was the case for the September plan to some extent. A lot of the stuff on there was more random for it to be on there, but it was also all the stuff that I was really excited about getting to. But I feel like with the October one, I'm very excited for the stuff that I'm getting to, so maybe that will be able to keep me going with it. But so, I am going to have a look at what I have written down here as being the books that I'm going to be tackling in October. But so yeah, October, it's going to be divided by like mainly 3 themes, I guess. I mean, mainly 2 themes actually. It's going to be horror months, and it's gonna be reading first books in the series. So I have plans to read a lot of sequels in November, so I need to reread a lot of books in October in order to make that happen. Let's go from lowest page count to highest. Lowest page count is one of these horror books, and that is Hunger by Choi Jin Young. So this is a Korean horror novel about a woman who has killed her husband and devoured him, I think, at the beginning of the book. I will be tackling this one in the weekend of the 17th and 18th of October because this is a cannibalism book, and it's a short one, and I am going to be hosting a weekend in which we'll be reading all of the shortest books on our TBRs. So definitely feel free to join that. It will be hosted over on my Discord, but I will do sprints over on YouTube for it as well. And I will, I guess, still do an announcement video for it as well. But so yes, our plan is to just divert our attention to short stuff for that one weekend. And this is the only short thing that I physically own that I will actually be putting on that weekend TBR. So the rest of that weekend's page count and time is going to go to stuff that isn't even calculated into my total page count for the month of October. Next up, we have Audition by Katie Kitamura. So this is the most likely book to fall off in case I don't make it. So this is a Booker Prize book. This is one of the books on the shortlist for the Booker Prize. I don't know anything about it except that I know that this one is very divisive. So it'll be interesting to try this one out, but that also means that there's a great potential for me to not get along with this book. It is very short because it's only 197 pages. So in that regard, it will in principle be easy to get to. But last month I read Universality by Natasha Brown, which was shorter, and I definitely struggled a lot with it, and it was definitely a burden for my TBR. Next up, I will be reading Restoration. I've forgotten the name of the author. This might change for another book, but so this is a 258 page horror book by a Latin American author, and I will be reading this one because of the fact that it is by a Latin American author, because it is Latin American Heritage Month between the 15th of September and the 15th of October. So ideally, for like the top marks for Herkiet, I read a book by an author with that background during this time. And so I've decided to put this one on because it's also horror, so it would definitely suit my sort of like theme for the month, but there are definitely a lot of other horrors as well that would qualify, that I have an interest in. This is just the shortest one of all of those, so in the interest of keeping the page count on my TBR down, I am gonna try to go for this one. It has like a creepy cover with like a moth on it, but yeah, I don't know anything else about it actually. Next up we have The Empusium by Olga Tokarczuk, a health resort horror story. This is basically a horror reimagining of The Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann. I have not read The Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann. The Magic Mountain is very big, it's humongous, so I have decided not to read it first. I will read this one first. If I like this one, then I might go into The Magic Mountain at some point in time. This is a 326-page book. Olga Tokarczuk is one of those authors that I've really been wanting to give a go over the past few years, and so this will be my first sampling of her work. So yeah, it's just about like a young guy suffering from tuberculosis going to a health resort in the mountains. And so it says here, every evening the residents gather to imbibe the hallucinogenic local liquor and debate the great issues of the day. Meanwhile, disturbing things are happening in the guest house and the surrounding hills. Someone or something seems to be watching, attempting to infiltrate this cloistered world. So yeah, sounds unsettling, and yeah, I'm eager to see, because this is going to be literary horror, so it's probably going to be a little bit less action-packed, a lot more slow. Next up, I will be reading the second book in the Terra Ignota series by Ada Palmer. I keep on forgetting the title for this one, 7 something. Terra Ignota, how to describe Terra Ignota. Basically, we start off with a new sensayer, which is basically a guy who has like knowledge about all types of religions and is there to steer people in their existential and spiritual crises. He is assigned to do this household where their previous sensator has just passed away, but when he arrives there, there's a scuffle happening inside, and when he enters he finds a lot of toy soldiers that were brought to life by a kid. That's all I'm gonna say about it, because this book has a very complex world, a lot of things happening. Our narrator is a character who basically is enlisted by everybody within the world to help them figure stuff out. So he's always going to be at the front and center of all the action. But there's many different pieces to a very big puzzle, and so it's very difficult to talk about this book and kind of give you an overall scope, because that's very much what you're figuring out throughout the book. But I really enjoyed it. It has a very interesting style to it, which I very much enjoyed. And I was listening to the graphic audiobooks, which I actually really like as well, because they really set the mood for this book. Next up, page count 378. Play Nice by Rachel Harrison. This is a September release, so also for her yet this will count for my September release and reading it within 60 days. This is a haunted house novel. Protagonist's name is Cleo, so of course I had to go for it. That's all I really know about this one. So yeah, hopefully I enjoy it. But so yes, this definitely fits in with my wish to read horror books to read seasonally for the month of October, because I say this every year that I want to do this and I never do. So for the month of October this year, I will consider it a great win if I'm able to fit in these horror books into my month. And then the final sort of like horror stuff that is on my TBR for the month is Ghost Station by S.A. Barnes, I think it is. This in principle could also fall off, because it's like, I don't own it physically. It is a bigger page count, so this could be the one, like this makes most sense out of all of the horrors to kind of fall off of my list. But it's also one that I've been wanting to read for a very long time, and I keep on saying that I'm going to push into the month of October. So yeah, I guess if it doesn't happen, I can put it in like December. December is also one of these months in which a lot of people read sort of like the horror type of books as well. So, and for December I've kind of probably am going to mainly be mood reading, so potentially it still has a slot over there. But I want to keep the dream alive that I'm going to be able to read this book this month. Do I still remember what it is about? No, it is a horror set in space. That is all that I really remember about it. But many of the S.A. Barnes books sound very promising to me, and so I'm hoping that I really enjoy this one, and then I have a lot of others to also dive into. Moving into the second biggest theme for this month, which is first books in a series, rereads of first books in a series. Going from shortest page count to highest page count, first one we have to talk about is the least known of all of these, and that is Those Above by Daniel Polanski. So this is a book about a rebellion between those above and those below. I don't remember much else. I remember that this one was quite difficult to get into, quite difficult to get engaged with, but I think around halfway through the book or something like that, that totally changed. Not because of any sort of like plot twist or anything like that. I just found myself like grasping the world and the characters to such an extent that I was like all in and very much interested in where the direction of the story was going to go. And then for the rest of the book I was very much engrossed and very much enjoying it, except I didn't continue, even though I knew how much difficulty it had taken me to get invested and to get to that level of engagement, and so it would have been better for me to continue on. I mean, I know why I didn't continue on, because of, you know, TBR reduction. I didn't have the sequel at that point in time. I got the sequel for Christmas, and so now it is definitely time to reread this first one in order to dive into the sequel, which is on the TBR card behind me and which will be in the November TBR. The next book is a 480-page book, which is The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah. This is a Middle Eastern fantasy having to deal with Jinn, a swindler protagonist, I think. I believe she's set off on a mission by the Crown Prince or the King, and she's like accompanied by either the Crown Prince or like I don't know, a buddy of the Crown Prince. I don't fully remember the storyline, but I really enjoyed this one a whole lot. Out of most of the books that I read that year, this one was the one for which I wanted the sequel the most, and for which I had to wait for the sequel the longest. However, the sequel has been on my TBR card for a few months now, and I really need to find a space to read this book and be able to continue, because I'm pretty sure that I will fly through this one probably. So hopefully I can find the time for that also within the month of October. And then now we get to the actual chunkers, because so far this still sounds doable, right? Most of the page counts are pretty doable. The Stardust Thief, sure, it's close to the 500 mark, but it's time to bring out the bad boys. So, and with the bad boys, I actually mean the good boys, the best boys, because these two books, in my mind, battled it out for my favorite book of 2024. I never made the video, but I definitely have two books that are front and center of that year, and these are the two. This is the book that came out on top. Page count 608, The Silverblood Promise by James Logan. Beautiful broken binding edition. In 2 days time I get to pre-order the sequel to this one on their website as well, because I adored this book. This book starts off with our protagonist, who is basically in exile in some other realm than where he grew up because of something that happened during a duel that he fought. And he finds out that his father has died and that he was killed, and he is left one note from his father that contains 3 words on it, one of which is a location, the other one is a person, I believe, but in any case these 3 words send him on a quest to find out answers. Does not sound like something for me, because that sounds like a murder mystery, but this is really just like a triggering event to set off on a adventure story to find out about big plots that are happening within this world, and like getting embroiled in the antics of different groups, and finding out big secrets and stuff like that. So I'm very much looking forward to fully re-experiencing this book and being able to dive into the sequel afterwards. I am hoping to do a recap video on this book for those of us who need it and who don't have the time to reread it. And then the final book for this TBR, it's 630 pages, is The Will of the Many by James Islington. So the second book to this will also be coming out in November, and so I also need to reacquaint myself with the events of book 1. There will most likely be a recap in the book, I assume, because there was also a recap in the other books in the Lycanius trilogy by James Islington. So I'm expecting a recap, but still, I want to go in fully refreshed on the events within this book, and also just I love this book, so I definitely want to reread it. So in this one we're following an orphan boy called Viz, who's basically just like going about his own business. He's working in this sort of like archive where he's basically lying low, trying to get involved with the administration as little as possible, because this world is basically a pyramid scheme, and the lower classes basically offer up their power, let's say, or their energy to those above them, who then offer up to those above, and blah blah blah, so that the person at the top is basically like gathering energy from a ton of people. However, Viz is trying to keep his energy out of the system until a visitor drops by and seems to notice something special about him and recruits him to try and find out the secret at the heart of a magical academy at the center of this world, where the son of this person has passed away. So, love this book. I'm very eager to reread it. I think I'm gonna focus on the Silverblood Promise first, just because of the fact that that will be published first, and so I want my recap for that one to come out before my recap for the other book. I will say that I'm already really looking forward to rereading the beginning of The Will of the Many, but I'm sure I will instantly like not feel any regrets about going for the Silverblood Promise first once I've just started rereading that one, because I absolutely love that book from start to finish as well. So, and in my mind this one takes first place over The Will of the Many, so but it's like basically a tie. But so in any case, I'm very much looking forward to rereading these two books, hopefully doing recap videos on both of them, and hopefully finishing this entire TBR, because that is some 4,125 pages or something like that, I think it was. So it isn't that much lower than my September TBR was, and I definitely feel like probably the energy is gonna be lower, because I just don't think that I can keep on pushing myself the way that I have done in the month of September. Mainly just in the sense of like, I feel like my energy was like fully focused on reading and getting the pages down within the month of September, and that there were certain things that I wasn't doing because that would cut into my reading time, and I feel like that is just not sustainable. That, you know, I'll feel that I will just fall off of that if I keep on doing that for too long. But so yeah, we'll just see, because actually also I am reading another book at the moment that I might get to 60% in tonight, but that is also going to be page count, that time that I'm spending on page count that is not counting towards the TBR video that you have just seen. But so yeah, wish me luck. Let me know what you are most excited for about your October TBR, and yeah, and let me know about the October release, by the way, because I don't think I have my eye on an October release yet for Herc yet. So let me know if you've got something coming in October that you would like to steer me in the direction of. But so yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and see you guys for the next one. Bye!